What is going on, guys? MMA Island team. We got the fight picks. We got this one. We got Calen Born filling in short notice for Jared Gooden taking on Dwight Grant. So we got Dwight Grant taking on Calen Born. And we're going to pass it on to Zach to start us off.
So Dwight Grant, he comes off the Contender Series Season 2 with a very, very solid knockout. And his UFC tenure so far has been lackluster. His fight with Zach Ottow, something to put on if you're having trouble sleeping at night. And he lost that fight. Same thing you want to do with the Alan Chauvin fight. Snoozers, all of them. But in between that, he has a knockout over Carlo Pedersoli. So that tells you everything you really need to know about Dwight Grant. It is knockout or bust for this guy, pretty much. If he doesn't knock him out, it's going to be a very, very boring fight. And he is a pretty large welterweight, and he is muscular. He is built very, very well. And Calen Born, I mean, these short notice guys, if we've noticed a pattern so far, with the exception of like Justin James, these people don't do all that well. But he does have some relatively high-level competition competing in LFA, and Shamrock LFA, obviously the higher of those organizations. But, you know, Calen Born, his bread and butter is the submission. He has 4 submissions in 7 fights and also claims an Ezekiel choke on his record. Shout out to Alexei Oleinik. But the competition that he's faced is nowhere close to the amount that Dwight Grant is. And the fact is, Dwight Grant's going to be a lot bigger. And Calen Born on the feet is nothing compared to what Dwight Grant brings. So I think Dwight Grant's going to knock him out in the first round. That's my pick.
I'll have to agree with you. I'm kind of split on where I want to go with how this fight goes because there's a couple factors that lead into it. So I'm going to go with Dwight Grant. I'm just going to start it up there, and I'll get the UFC calculator out of the way for this one. It's got at a 60.9% chance for Grant. So I got Grant on this one. The reason I think it's so close, and partially I agree as well, is because talking about Calen Born, you can say that Dwight Grant is the most high-level striker that Born has fought. But at the same time, could you say that maybe Grant's obviously at a loss for the ground game here. Bourne's got the advantage on the ground, having mainly his wins come by submission, and also Grant has never been submitted, nor has he ever got a submission. So I'm looking at Calen Born, and Calen Born's definitely going to want to take this fight to the ground. But just talking about Dwight Grant, as you mentioned, he has those knockouts, and that's typically how he wins his fights. But as I mentioned this a few fight picks ago, is when you look at guys who have been able to take fights to decision, have been able to kind of find their way around knocking out the lower ranked opponents that they fight. You have to lean towards Dwight Grant on this one. I know both of them. You can't. Bourne has most of his wins by finish, but what I'm trying to say here is that Dwight Grant has been in the UFC. He's knocked out guys throughout his career. I just look at the guys who they have fought compared to each other, and you definitely got to lean towards lean towards Grant here. I'm going to take Grant. I just think the experience is going to play a huge factor. I think when Bourne tries to take it to the ground, I think Grant's going to be able to find ways around it. I don't think Bourne's going to be able to finish him in this via submission, and that's typically how he wins his fights. So the huge advantage in the striking game with Grant, I think, probably leans me towards picking a finish for Grant. But I think I'm going to go decision. I'm going to go Dwight Grant gets a decision win over Calen Born here.
Yeah, I completely agree. Going off of that, I mean, Dwight Grant is fighting out of AKA. I mean, that just gives him enough of a credential for me to really just lean towards him. This is what I like to call a coin toss. I can't really tell you who's going to win. I've seen enough of the fights. I haven't seen all their fights, but I know for a fact that Dwight Grant has experience, as we've touched on, and he just came off of a decision win against Alan Jouban. Alan Jouban's been around for a long time. Alan Jouban is an expert of dancing, running away, getting out of the way of the fighters. If he's bulldog doubling you, okay, I'm going to circle, maybe pick a couple shots, get even farther away from you, keep my distance, abuse my cardio and, play it safe. So if Dwight Grant can just bulldoze you and chase you around the octagon for 3 rounds, then I think his cardio could come into play here. I think his experience and his style may be a bit on the snoozier side, but at the same time, I still think he can take down Shootbox Kansas premier fighter in Calen. I honestly think that if the Shootbox Academy wants to produce these fighters, they need to get maybe more with the times. I'm not trying to go at their camp in itself, but, they're an old school camp. I don't know if they hard spar like they used to. I know they I've seen plenty of videos of Fabricio Werdum and Wanderlei Silva destroying each other, which is cool and all, but as you can see, they don't have much of a chin anymore. I mean, Fabricio takes one hit to the jaw and he's hugging Alexander's Gustafsson's leg easily. I mean, it makes sense, but I just don't see Calen taking this in any way, shape, or form other than maybe a quick knockout. But Grant has a chin. He has no knockouts to his name, and hopefully it's not a flash knockout. If it is, hopefully it's actually a technician-based demolition of his chin. That's it.
Yeah, we're 4-4 here. I don't got too much to add to that. I think that Dwight Grant is going to do enough. A lot of the times I'm like trying to think about like, oh, this guy, he needs to make a statement. So like he's probably going to get a finish here. I just think that Dwight Grant's going to have another boring performance and he's going to win. And it's going to be like, okay, what's next?
Well, what's next is we let you guys try to prove us wrong here. Anyone's got Calen Born, make sure you guys are letting us know. We got the fight picks. We got the fight picks for every single fight on this card. Even the late fill-ins, half the websites don't even have this fight up yet. So we want to know what you guys think. If you guys have done the research and you guys think you know more than us, then let us know if you got Calen Born on this one. We also want to know if you guys agree. We've been getting way too much hate, so let us know if you agree and you think we're smart dudes. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the other fight pick videos.